About 3 years ago, I made a video called The Complexity of S.T.A.L.K.E.R Canon, delving into some of the intricacies and challenges linked to identifying what can be considered as official lore and what cannot. Since then, a lot of things have changed, most notably due to the release of S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2 and some of the promotional material accompanying the new game. So, what's going on with the S.T.A.L.K.E.R canon? Let's find out. First of all, we should define what we are talking about. Canon refers to the aspects of a story, fictional world, or universe that are considered to be official, meaning they have been confirmed to be true within the story or in some other way. In the case of S.T.A.L.K.E.R, the lore and the canon surrounding it were always complicated, as I explained in my old video. The existence of many additional elements surrounding the games, such as mods, books, and other promotional items, as well as the fact that the games themselves contain contradictions, lore changes, mistakes, and a long and intricate development history with a lot of cut content, all participate in creating an environment where distinguishing canon from fanfiction is not always simple. We could have hoped that the release of S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2 would make things easier, creating a more coherent lore picture and smoothing out the story problems and inconsistencies introduced in the past. However, this was not to happen, and instead, one might argue that things actually got worse. While this video is not meant to be a catalogue of all the lore changes, additions and errors introduced in S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2, it should be mentioned that these exist and have brought some more confusion to the already clouded canon of the franchise. Some examples include, but are not limited to, reworked personalities and fates of certain characters, moving important dates, and heavy redesigns of the zone's map. Then again, the so-called retcons, erasing or rewriting what had been established in the previous games in a new, different way, were inevitable, especially with a new game released more than 15 years after the last one. And so Heart of Chernobyl expectedly received mixed reactions from lore experts and veteran players, with most simply raising the eyebrow here and there when encountering an unexpected change. Overall, it could have been way worse. The core of the lore actually stayed intact, and while some things were indeed changed, new additions to the universe were also most welcome, such as Subtle Matter, Project X, and the story of Noontide. So what's all the fuss about? S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2 in itself, despite its problems, did present a mostly coherent picture from a canon standpoint. The changes that impacted the 3 original games could be explained by the theory that the trilogy is to be regarded as tales told around the campfire, with their own inconsistencies and exaggerations, hence why it was renamed Legends of the Zone for the console release. The general structure of the story is canon, but the details not always. Besides, we had some time to adapt and accept the retcons ever since the 2024 launch. No, what is really causing confusion right now is not Heart of Chernobyl itself, but the other material surrounding it, and how they contradict each other. We've had a first ARG in 2021, then a first art book on release, followed by a second art book from Dark Horse and another ARG nicknamed Q.U.K in 2025. And now in 2026 we got the ATB Almanac with collectible cards and audiologs, not to mention the first expansion, Cost of Hope, set to come out this summer. All of these contain exclusive lore elements that, considering these are official GSC content, should be considered part of the canon. And yet, the information found in these treasure troves is sometimes contradictory, illogical, or straight up wrong. Allow me to present a few illustrative examples. In the 2021 ARG and inside the game, it is made pretty clear that the Ward and S.T.A.L.K.E.R were established in the zone during the year 2013. However, in the first artbook and the brand new almanac, the year is 2015 instead. So, which one is it? When it comes to canonicity, I think the general consensus is that the game should take priority, and therefore, the information from the game is more valid. But at the same time, the almanac released more recently, so we could imagine its content is more fresh, so to speak, and thus could retcon what was established in the game. I'm not so sure. And if you think it's too early for GSC to already retcon what was presented to us only a few years ago, well, think again. We know for a fact that they are not shy of doing such things, seeing that Cost of Hope will introduce changes to Heart of Chernobyl. The most obvious one is Mikluha, whose appearance has been drastically modified. In fact, retcons have already been happening within updates inside the game. In the latest Sealed Truth patch, several loading screen tips were changed, some with more consequences than others. The most important modification is probably about the D4 Treaty, while the core faction was removed from the list of groups that signed the agreement. This coincides with the new information from the ATB promotional material, where we learned the core was created after D4 came into play, and not before like it used to be. Another example of messed up timeline concerns S.T.A.L.K.E.R's initial raids to the center of the zone. According to the Doctor's diary found in the game, S.T.A.L.K.E.R found and brought the Heart of Chernobyl artifact in 2010, before the events of Clear Sky. Nonetheless, the audio recordings from the Almanac cards now claim this happened in 2011, after S.T.A.L.K.E.R was patched up by Doctor at the beginning of Clear Sky. Speaking of which, the audiologs also moved the whole Clear Sky plot forward to August 2011 instead of September. While these may seem like nitpicks, and perhaps they are, there's so many of these inconsistencies and mistakes that they accumulate and in a way tarnish the lore of our beloved S.T.A.L.K.E.R universe. In short, we don't really know what's canon anymore, and that's a real problem. Sometimes I catch myself thinking, what's the point of spending so much time researching and learning the lore if GSC does not care and can change it at any moment, be it intentionally or not? For instance, take my recent video in which I compiled the timeline of all the major events from the S.T.A.L.K.E.R franchise. A lot of time was spent on that thing, and even if I knew I would have to update it in the future, I could not have predicted that some of the elements in the timeline would be retconned so early, or at least are now being put in jeopardy when it comes to their canonicity. Fortunately, not everything is as grim as I make it sound, so I want to finish this video on a more positive note. I wanted to complain about this because I know GSC can do better, and to inform other fans about this situation. But in reality, I am generally happy with all the new stuff we've been getting. I loved researching the lore from the ARGs, reading through the artbooks, and translating the audio files from the Almanac cards. Yes, they are not perfect, but I'd rather have that than nothing at all. By the way, we've been working on a large project to recreate all the audio logs found in the collectible cards, which are currently only available in Ukrainian, into English versions. I think it will be a good way to share this new lore content to the wider S.T.A.L.K.E.R fanbase, though it's a lot of work, so I'm not sure when it will come out. Stay tuned, I guess. Anyway, that's all I had to say on this topic for the time being. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And until next time, good hunting, Stalkers.